The upcoming release of the next main Pokemon TCG set, namely Perfect Order, is looking extremely interesting. We've already mentioned Perfect Order a bit on our channel as well, and the thesis that was put forward there by me at the time was that generally, for the health of the Pokemon market and the economy we're in now, such a weak expansion could be very well received. Why? Mainly because we have so many customers eager to buy any booster packs at all, because this product just isn't sitting on the shelves. I mean, honestly, buying Ascended Heroes at any retail store is bordering on impossible. So does Perfect Order as a set that, well, doesn't have Gengars, Dragonites, or Charizards, could it give in Pokemon? Well, exactly that kind of breather, and given collectors and players a chance to snag some cards at an affordable price. While I completely stand by the theory I put forward back then, the information that's reached us significantly shifts the perspective, allowing us to look at Perfect Order from a slightly different angle. The allocations for this product are already known by most distributors, and it turns out everyone's in for a huge surprise because there is, well, an incredibly small amount of this product. So little that many stores received, well, very heavily cut allocations, especially for things like Elite Trainer boxes, which means that this expansion, according to my knowledge, will be very, very, very scarce on the market. So what does that actually mean? Well, it's a situation that rarely happens in the Pokemon market, for an expansion to be weak and in short supply, because often expansions are intentionally short-printed to trigger FOMO, hype, and to increase interest in the brand, but something like Perfect Order, at least from what we know right now, about this set is hard to find in history. Maybe there's some analogies to sets like Sword and Shield Base, which are expansions that held their value, and still do, even after many years, mainly due to a very short print run. But there are also expansions that had a very short print run, and it didn't help their price all that much. From recent years, we have Shrouded Fable, which, well, is an expansion that there seems to be very little of. What can we conclude from this? Mainly from the number of cards being sent for grading at PSA. Although Shrouded Fable is such a shallow expansion, that even the biggest hits pulled from Shrouded Fable, like Persian for example, might not be sent to PSA at all, so it's actually hard to give this data much weight. So, how do I view Perfect Order right now? This new information slightly changes my perspective on what the Pokemon Company is doing, or trying to do. Because I'm trying to reverse engineer facts that are hard to argue with, but in the context of, well, the ecosystem we're in right now. And just like in a strategy game, I don't know, I haven't played many games, but as a kid, for instance, I really liked a game called Knights and Merchants, where managing very limited resources played a very crucial role. I think that's a nice analogy for what the Pokemon Company is doing right now. Sure, they're building new production lines, printing more and more of these cards, but at least through 2026, they're actually juggling heavily limited resources. And we all know that in the year of Pokemon's 30th anniversary, it will be the absolute biggest event. And Super Bowl ads already show that Pokemon wants to go big on many elements of this franchise. To make the brand's 30th anniversary a truly massive and unforgettable event, so that probably tells us exactly where those valuable resources are actually being allocated within the company. Because if this particular set, or if the 30th anniversary products are truly what Pokemon most wants to put on store shelves for collectors, then an expansion like Perfect Order just becomes yet another release on the already crowded calendar, one that doesn't actually feature the kinds of Pokemon that collectors, investors, and players would really truly fight over or get excited about. In that case, Perfect Order might simply be seen as just another set, rather than a must-have, highly sought-after collection, and it may not generate the same level of buzz or excitement among the community as this special anniversary products would. Because of course, there are some Pokemon that look nice. Clefable, Starmie is a bit meme-worthy, Persian, Meowth doesn't look bad, but let's be honest, these aren't the Pokemon collectors love most, and the arguments that these are Pokemon from the ZA game don't quite resonate with me. My son actually just finished that game, and I asked him how important and how Mega Zygarde is portrayed there. Well, it appears in the story, but it's not exactly something people would hunt for as a souvenir of the game, because some big, an emotional reaction with this Pokemon. So Perfect Order seems like a set just to tide us over. Not particularly attractive, but also a very short print run, at least for now. Because of that, we can somewhat predict that Pokemon is adjusting its strategy specifically to maximize monetization of the 30th anniversary. And for us, even if we just want to get some product, Perfect Order, like a booster box for the collection, I try to buy a booster box from every expansion for my private collection, or an Elite Trainer box, it's worth considering that, at least in Europe, there will be very, very, very little of this product. And how will it behave in terms of price? I personally will be watching this with great interest, because as I said, there haven't been situations like this, at least for a few years, that could be a good analogy for this. And even if there were some from the deeper past, it would be hard to compare, if only because we are already on a completely different scale of interest and analogies from the deep past. So let's wait together, find out, and see. How Perfect Order will also be received by the market.